This is a Tracking the Tropics update with the certified most accurate weather team at First Coast News.
We now officially have the Tropical Storm Sara by the National Hurricane Center at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. This was upgraded to a tropical storm, now with winds of 40 miles per hour, pressure down to 999 millibars. I'm meteorologist Robert Spetta, and this is Talking Tropics, where we break down these storm systems in detail for you here on First Coast News Plus. No hype, but we're going to try to give you an idea of what we can expect with this as it traverses across Central America, through the Yucatan Peninsula there into Mexico, and eventually reemerges into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I know there's been a lot of hype around this storm system. A lot of people saying, that could be a hurricane heading into the Florida coastline. Here's the deal. There is still a lot of time to watch it. It has a lot to get through before it even heads out into the Gulf of Mexico. So there's still a lot of uncertainty in that extended forecast. But based on everything I'm seeing right now, it looks less and less like a hurricane into the Gulf Coast of the United States. But there is going to be that chance of some sort of tropical condition. So right now you're taking a look actually at the official track here as of 1 o'clock of Tropical Storm Sara. And it is expected to continue to slightly strengthen all the way up to landfall here as it skirts Central America, moving across Belize. Some people have been asking me actually, excuse me, where exactly is going to be some of the biggest impacts into Belize and across the Yucatan Peninsula. The thing is with this storm system, it's not so much the defined low-level circulation. That's the big issue. It's a very broad center, and that means there's just going to be a lot of rain here. So definitely a broad range of impacts as it traverses there, with the rainfall being the main issue. But you can see here on the satellite imagery, this continues to tighten up and strengthen here, but a lot of convection just off towards the north there as it moves over sea surface temperatures, which are still into the mid 80s. So there's plenty of fuel for this to kind of get its act together as it moves off here towards the north and west. Now, there is that right now that is allowing it to strengthen, but there are things out ahead of it that are going to continue to weaken it. One being dry air spilling in from the north. We have a cold front moving across northeastern Florida here today. That's going to usher in some cooler, dry air, and then a secondary front by the mid part of next week. So here comes the first front that moves off there towards the east, and then we have a storm which is traversing over the mountainous terrains there of the Yucatan Peninsula and into Central America. There's a lot of friction involved in that, which is going to disrupt it. That's the reason why the National Hurricane Center actually has it as a low pressure area versus a tropical storm or even depression as it reemerges into the Gulf of Mexico. Then we have another front that's going to kick on through. So even if it does kind of get its act together just for a short period of time, it's going to be more extratropical or subtropical as it gets kicked off towards the north and east. More than likely. We still got a week to watch this, but if that front comes on in, we have a lot of shear that's going to be mixed in there as well, and that is just going to basically cause it to kind of get shot off here towards north and east. Still a lot of rainfall. Still could even be looking at the potential for some severe weather if it gets hooked by that front and moves towards northeast. Remember, warmer air colliding with the cooler air from the north, with shear. These are all ingredients for even things like tornadoes. So I wouldn't just shrug it off and say, well, you know what, it's not going to be a hurricane. But it still is going to have, its variety and range of impacts here. So something I want to watch out for. And one thing, I'm showing here, and I'm trying to explain in detail the range of impacts as it moves over Mexico and eventually into the Gulf of Mexico and what a front could do with it. All that cannot be told on our spaghetti models. And I just want to remind you, these are great for kind of getting an idea, especially if it defines low-level circulation, where a storm is going to head. You look at the consensus, but it doesn't tell you the strength or intensity or kind of what the makeup of a storm is going to be. A lot of this turns it towards the north and east, but that is more so going to be associated with a front. So highly unlikely we're going to have a full-on hurricane. And to compare that up, we'll look at our long-range computer models with the European and the GFS side by side. You don't see it. You don't see hurricane. The pressures are barely there, so it's going to be more of kind of a low pressure area, maybe a tropical depression, subtropical, something like that. Messy weather for sure as the jet stream kind of kicks on through and picks this up and kicks it off towards north and east. Now, with all that said, looking at dry air, looking at shear. Looking at the front coming through. The sea surface temperatures are still warm. In fact, they're record warm out here in the Gulf of Mexico and across the Caribbean. Where this storm is currently forming, it is near 86 degrees. That is unheard of in late November. So that is fuel for this, and it's no surprise to me that this has been upgraded to a tropical storm. And even as it heads off towards the north, it still is going to be moving over an area for warmer waters. With that said, November storms are not common. In fact, we've only had a few major Cat 3 or above hurricanes in the month of November. And the latest landfalling hurricane on record was a Cat 2. That was Kate back in 1985. That was on November 20th. Now, this storm was to make landfall, let's say on Wednesday towards Thursday. That would be the 19th into the 20th, which is exceptionally rare to have a storm that late. It would be record breaking. It's a lot of shear, a lot of things going against it. There is the warm sea surface temperatures, but I just want you to keep in that mind when you see, people posting that a hurricane's coming to Florida or anything like that. That's why we try to break this down in a long, detailed explanation for you about what is happening. So what we know right now, well, this area still has lots of shear to overcome as it moves out to the Gulf. Sea surface temperatures are still warm, but the storm, not likely. It has already been named Sara. I haven't updated this graphic, but plenty of time to still watch it. That is the key thing as it traverses Central America, heads into the Gulf, and eventually could impact the state of Florida, but it's not going to be a full-on hurricane. All right, so Sara. That is the name of this storm. I do want to remind you, we're looking at this list here for 2024, but did you know 12 years ago, it wasn't originally Sara, it was Sandy. Sandy was retired after 2012. Remember that storm caused 124 deaths, $68 billion in damages, one of the largest storms on record. It hit the northeastern U.S. WMO did agree, that is the World Meteorological Organization, that storm should be retired. On average, about 1 to 2 storms are retired each season. Here in 2024, we have already had a few that I think Beryl, Helene, Milton, all likely going to be retired. If not, they are definitely going to be in the discussion for retirement. So there's a lot still going on out here. It has been an interesting and record-breaking season in a few ways. And now we have another late season tropical storm we're going to continue to monitor as we look ahead over the next few days as this pushes across Central America, through the Yucatan Peninsula, and into the Gulf of Mexico before it eventually could turn off towards north or northeast. So be sure to continue to watch us at First Coast News Plus. Make sure you download that First Coast News app and check out for more information at our Hurricane Central. I'm meteorologist Robert Speta. This is Talking Tropics.